Good day, everybody. I hope you're having a nice time and life is good to you. Right, I'm going to be looking at the Eye of the Serpent, a UK5 model which was produced by Graham Morris and published in 1984. Now, this UK model is part of a series of models which was produced by the UK branch of TSR. And despite me being British, I will go and hand on my heart say that the UK models were generally of a better quality than a lot of the models produced in America at the time. This one is no exception. Now, the cover itself doesn't really give you an idea of exactly what goes on inside the model. It's not very well drawn. It doesn't draw you in. It doesn't pull you towards the model and say, this doesn't look very good, does it? But if you did manage to buy the actual model and open it up and read, you'll find that it is a gem. It is a really, really good model. Now, it says that it's a one-on-one group adventure for first level characters. So you can imagine as you being a dungeon master waiting for your friends to arrive for tonight's session, and you're all phoning sick or can't make it or whatever, and only one player turned up. So you can't really do anything unless all the players are there, so you decide to do a one-off and dig this model out and play with that person. Now, it's not a one-on-one where you just have one character doing the whole model by him or herself. The character plays, but it also have a roster of other characters or NPC characters at the end of the model, which you can give to the player for him or her to control and thus go through the model. Because if you have just one person going for the whole thing, he or she won't survive, because of the actual creatures and encounters that you find in the model are far too tough for just one person to take on alone. And I would say that the first level character is a little bit too weak for this model, considering the kind of environments which the characters find themselves. So I suggested you bump the character up maybe to 2 to 3rd level, giving themselves a little bit of a better chance of actually surviving until the end of the model. The restriction in the model itself is that only druid, rangers or monk characters are more beneficial to play, in that we can't get away with thieves or magic users or what have you. They're designed for those particular character classes. So druids, rangers or monks are the more preferred class. But I suppose with a little bit of adaptation you can play any character class you want. It's entirely up to you. So the basic premise of the model is that you're walking along, happily contemplating life, the universe and everything, and a great big bird comes along, takes you and your playing characters and dumps them in a nest right at the very top of the mountain. So then the model follows, then you have to find a way down to the base of the mountain and to the place called Eye of the Serpent, which is actually a location on the river in the far distance, which where you're at the top of the mountain you can actually see. Now the unique selling point of this particular model is the fact that you have a lot of different routes to make down the mountainside. So if you go down to Route A, you meet creatures pertaining to that Route A. And the same thing Route B, if you go down there, you'll meet different creatures for that route. And you can mix up the different ways of going down the mountainside, so you can also have then the replayability value, because no two ways are the same. Obviously there'll be different creatures when you go through the model itself. Now the creatures are mostly from the Fiend Folio. There's a few from the other books as well, Monster Manual and so on and so forth. So it is a little bit Fiend Folio centric, which is not really surprising because the Fiend Folio was generally produced by UK publishers of TSR. And if you look at White Dwarf, a few of this magazine, which is an old magazine dealing with all sorts of games, and Dungeons and Dragons was one of them. People used to write in with their own versions of the monsters, and those were compiled into the Fiend Folio. Some of them are actually featured in this model, which is okay because if the players were very, very familiar with the monster manual, then they could be thrown a little bit of a curveball by having some monsters from the Fiend Folio, so it's fine. But you do need to buy or look at the Fiend Folio in order to be able to run the monsters properly. Now, having said that, the monsters are actually appropriate for the ecology or environment of the mountain as you descend all the way down. So a little bit of judicial care and play. The player who had the playing card could survive the encounters down because they are a little bit tough for the first level, at least in my opinion they are. So like I said, you may have to adapt it by changing the level of the player in order to cope. Now, as I said then, the actual model is usually a 32-page model and it's very dense with text and lots of encounters therein as well. So as a dungeon master, you're going to have to read it at least 6 or 7 times in order to get the whole of the model, grasp of it, so that when the player goes to a given encounter level, you can run it quite smoothly because you know then exactly what's there. But like I said, it's very dense, very well full of information, so you just have a lot to absorb and a little bit of work for the dungeon master to actually run. Overall, the model is a very pleasing one. Usually it's a first level model, it's a pretty good quality, as I've always said, because when you get to the higher levels, they seem to chuck everything in, and you don't really get that sort of pleasure to play and just kill whatever's in front of you, because you're high enough to throw a fireball or kill 10 with one sweep or so. The lower level models, especially the first level ones, are usually more carefully crafted because you want to ensure playability and you want to ensure that the playing characters survive at least as far to the end. And if they don't survive, then usually it's down to their own dumb mistakes that they've done while playing. So I've always enjoyed these lower level models because they are far better quality than the higher level ones are, and this one is no exception. Now, Graham Morris is a pretty good writer, and you can see that whenever you go through the pages in the model itself and the kind of descriptions he has of each encounter area and the creatures you find therein. And as I said, it's very dense, so he's put a lot of stuff in there. But it's an enjoyable read. Sometimes you get models that are so dry and so boring that you just want to flick through the pages to get to the end. Here, you want to read every single page and every single encounter that he writes. Like I said, he's a very, very, very good writer. So, yes, I would say that I would thoroughly recommend having this model and playing it with one person or even a group of people, because you're actually accommodated for that. Now, one of the things as well about this model that makes it slightly different from the others is, like Ravenloft, they use an isometric view of the environments on the maps. So you can have at a glance then a rough idea of what is needed or what is there when the playing character descends down the mountainside. From an isometric view, then at an angle, you get a pretty good idea of the scale of things and what's there quite quickly. And the small little maps about other key places in the model itself. So yes, I would thoroughly recommend playing this, and when you do get it, I'm sure you're going to have a blast. Okay, thank you for listening. Rock on.